Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Davino. I am the Superintendent of Schools here in Vernon, and I could not be more excited about the end of the school year. One of my favorite things to do in Vernon is to interview our students. And today on our podcast, I am going to speak with Cristian Vintimilla, who is sitting beside me, and he is such an amazing, interesting young man, so well accomplished. I'm so excited to introduce him to the Vernon Township School District community. And one of the things that I will stress during this interview, and Cristian and I were just speaking, is that the importance of parents and students, if you are K-8 or if you're in one of our younger schools, I want you to listen and learn from one of our best students, one of the students we're the most proud of, to think about ways that you can take advantage of Vernon High School and all that we have to offer up here once your child ascends to the Vernon Township High School. But let's talk to Cristian. First, let's talk about the Airforce Academy, right? We have 10 students who've committed to the Armed Forces this year, right, from the class of 2022.
Yes. Yeah.
Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and we're so proud of our 10 students. They're being recognized in my superintendent's report through the Board of Education. They were recognized in our Wall of Honor down the hall here at Vernon High School. You are the only student who's going into an academy. So can you explain what it means a little bit to go into an academy as opposed to just signing on with one of the armed services?
Yes, so I'm going to the Airforce Academy, so I'll be there for 4 years.
Okay.
I'll be majoring in something. I'm going to major in aeronautical engineering. And then after I graduate, I'll commission as an officer, a second lieutenant in the Air Force. And so I'll have all the responsibilities of being an officer. I'll have people under my command, and I'm hoping to become a pilot after I graduate.
Wow.
So that's kind of what it's going to look like for me. I'll be in Colorado for 4 years, then I'll commission, I'll be at a base somewhere. Anywhere in the world.
And they'll put you wherever at that time, right? 4 years from now, you'll be assigned to that location.
Yes, I can have preferences, but ultimately I'll support the needs of the Air Force at that time.
Of course.
Yeah.
Now, even as an officer, though, or in the academy, there's a chance that you'll see combat, correct? Depending on what happens around the world and what's happening.
Yeah,
right
while
now.
I'm at the academy, I'm not able to be deployed.
Right.
But of course, after I commission and I'm an officer, especially if I end up being a pilot, there is a chance that I'll definitely see combat.
Right. So tell the audience a little bit about why the Air Force. I mean, I know a little bit of your backstory, but so much of your family played into this. So why don't you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so my great-grandfather on my mother's side, he had a career in the Air Force, long career, and my grandfather also on my mom's side, he was in the Air Force for a little bit. So the Air Force has always been part of like my life.
Yeah.
When I was little, I have a picture of me holding an Air Force Academy football and in an Air Force Academy sweatshirt. So
of course.
It's always been in the back of my mind, although I wasn't always committed to the idea of going to the Air Force Academy. It was kind of fostered as I grew up and as I began to look and what I really wanted to do after high school.
Yeah, I think that's so wonderful. One of the things we talk about so much in Vernon is a sense of community and family influence and support, which is so important. And you'll hear from all of the students that we talk about that the more that parents can be involved with their child's education, with their love of learning or athletics, it really does help foster our young children into young adults. So let's talk a little bit about track and athletics. I mean, I just mentioned athletics for the folks at home, and the reality is that being a well-rounded student, whether you're going into the military or you're going to college, is really, really, really important.
Yes.
So were you always an athlete or not really?
Growing up, when I was in elementary school and like very younger, I played all sports. I was in football, baseball, soccer, basketball, everything.
Good for you.
And then as I got to middle school, like 7th, 8th grade, 6th grade even, I just dropped everything. I began to focus solely on my academics.
Okay.
And that's I'm glad that I learned that lesson at a young age because I was so focused on my academics at that time that my life balance was totally off. So coming into high school, I didn't play any sports in the fall and winter. And then my mom actually forced me to join track my spring season.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, thank you. I owe it all to her. And from there, I participated in track
and what happened
year.
at track? So let's talk about some of your records.
So I do cross country, indoor track, and outdoor track.
Okay.
I set some goals in cross country of going below 17 minutes in the 5K in track. recently went under 2 minutes in the 800, which is a goal I had for a while.
Amazing.
But the most important thing is coming into running, I've never been a runner, so I kind of learned to develop those goals and work, and I learned a lot through track because I had to definitely work hard and work on days where I really didn't want to achieve those goals in the long term. So it all worked out.
So what was your motivation for some of that? I mean, you're talking about you were like freshman, sophomore, junior, right? This is all through high school, I guess. So now you're a senior and you're going on, to the Airforce Academy. But as a 15-year-old young man, that's really difficult, right? Because you've got all these difficult classes because you focused on academics. You probably started to work or not work or do some other things outside of school. So how did you find the drive or the motivation to focus on improving your times in some of the events you just mentioned?
Yeah, so I've always just had that about me, I guess, the determination for school before I started sports. And that's something I then just was able to apply to sports and kind of combine the two to learn to manage my time, because I really had no other choice. If I wanted to devote myself to hours of studying and homework on top of sports, I was kind of forced to make it work, and now I have the management skills that I'll definitely improve on as I enter the academy, but yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And so for the folks at home, two things you just said to me that I think I want parents and students to hear. You talked about work-life balance or academic life balance, athletic balance when you were younger, and you also talked about time management, right?
Yeah.
So, for so many of us coming out of the pandemic, trying to get back to as much of a normal school year perhaps next year that we've seen in 3 years, right? Taking some of these lessons from Christian are really, really essential. None of us can do everything, right? You couldn't do 3 or 4 or 5 sports and be a really good scholar, right? There was no way that you could do both. And I think that must have been a very difficult choice for you, kind of dropping everything and focusing on your academics. But it sounds like building that academic grit and perseverance coming into high school set you up with a really strong transcript as you were getting ready to graduate, right?
Definitely.
Good for you. I think those are tremendous. And especially to discover them kind of on your own. And your mom probably helped a little bit saying you have to do track, right? Talk, if you don't mind, I know that you're also an excellent student. Christian is one of our top 15 students. So if you go through the center of town, you'll see these beautiful banners of our students. Christian's one of our top 15, so also extremely bright. If you were going to give advice to underclassmen, whether it's somebody who's maybe freshman or sophomore, or even an 8th grader coming up to the high school, what would you say to them on what the high school can give to them, or what advantages they should take? Any advice for students that are coming up?
I mean, whether it's sports, academic interests, or clubs, there's definitely a lot here that anyone with a variety of interests can take advantage of. But I think the most important thing is to find what really excites you and what you want to do with your life. And at times it might not seem like the academic part is so fun, or you might not find initial meaning in the academics, but it's always good to focus on the fact that it will help you be who you want to be after you graduate and set you up for a better future. But I would say that regardless of what you're interested in, there's a club here for you, or there's a sport that you'll enjoy, or maybe if you just enjoy the classes, there we have a bunch of electives that you can take. So there's really everything here for you.
Yeah, that's totally. So, I mean, for the people who don't know, our elective, like the diversity of programs up here is really, really vast.
Yes.
So last thing, since you talked about electives, and I know you're going in, eventually you'd like to be a pilot. We don't have an aeronautics program up here at the high school, right? We don't have any of that here. However, you talked about engineering. So what were the classes maybe that influenced you the most in your direction of your future goals?
Yeah, so we have an excellent engineering program here with Mr. Bruno.
He's outstanding.
It's definitely helped me a lot throughout high school. Coming in as a freshman, I took Intro to Engineering.
Did you?
And that just led me up to take the following courses. And
Good for
this
you.
year I'm in the final course of it.
Are you in the capstone? Are you in the good for you?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So it's definitely been really fun doing that with Mr. Bruno. I'm sad he's leaving.
Yeah,
but
me too.
The equipment that we have here in engineering and the softwares and everything, the resources that we have, definitely if anyone is interested in engineering or just to give it a shot, take the intro class.
Yeah.
We have everything here for you to kind of immerse yourself in that.
Yeah, that's a really, really great message for everybody. And, in just a week, the seniors graduate, but when do you leave for the Airforce Academy?
Yes, so I unfortunately will not be walking at graduation.
It's crushing all of us who are fans of Christian. So you leave the 23rd or the 22nd, I think, right?
The 22nd, I'll be on the plane out to
my
Colorado, and the 23rd is my first day, or I-Day, they call it. That'll be at the Academy.
Wow. So, I mean, for all of our people at home, I hope that you're cheering Christian on like we are up here at Vernon Township High School. He's really just such a fine young gentleman, along with the other students who've committed to the military. We thank you for your service to our country and their bravery in being young heroes to our students and to our community. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks.